Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. And this episode has been a long time coming. There have been a ton of people that have asked me what it was like when I was a game master at Sony Online Entertainment. And I figured, now's a good time for a story. Smash JT. I originally started working at Sony Online as a QA game tester, and you can see that video up there if you're interested in what it was like being a game tester. And as my project was winding down and the team was starting to be split up and people were starting to get let go, they came to me and said, "Jeff, would you be interested in staying on at Sony Online with a new position as a game master?" To which I replied, "Yeah, I'd love to stay on board as a game master, of course." But I didn't really know what a game master even was. I just knew I needed a job and that was a way for me to stay there. So I said, yes, I'll do it. All I could think of when they said game master was what I knew about it up to that point, which was basically Captain N, the game master, the cartoon. Later that night, I went home, researched what a game master was, and apparently that's a GM, which, if you're familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, the GM is the person that kind of creates the dungeon, creates the rules, creates everything for the players to play in. And similarly at Sony Online, the Game Master was the person that was the in-game customer support. The person that made sure the rules were being followed and that everything was hunky-dory for all the players. In this case, for the game Everquest. Now, more specifically, initially they wanted me to work on Everquest for the PC, to which I'd never played before in the past. Even though I'm a huge RPG fan, I was never big on MMORPGs, and I wasn't familiar with how it even worked, really. But I sat down, I tried to learn what Everquest was, and typing on the computer, and learning the commands, and learning the programming, and how I'm supposed to be integrated into this world. And a few days later, they came to me and said, "Hey, are you enjoying your time with this?" And I said, "Yeah, you know, I am, but those guys on the other side of the counter there, they're using the PlayStation 2, and I'm more familiar with actual consoles. I'm not much of a PC gamer." And they said, "Well, we actually have an opening on that team for Everquest Online Adventures. Would you be interested in switching over to that?" And that is how I became Agent Green in Everquest Online Adventures. If you're familiar with EQOA, then you would understand how tight-knit the community was on that platform. There were so many people that would log in every single day and then hang out in the town square. It was called, I believe, Freeport. And they just hang out there and talk to each other like an old school chat room almost. And my job would be to scan the area like a god of the realm, floating around without being seen, to make sure that people weren't being nasty to each other, to make sure that when people were trading items to each other that they would receive the item they were promised back, and resolve disputes like that. Things that you would never even imagine that would be complained about would come up, and I would be in charge to talk to both parties to find a resolution for everybody. Excuse the quality of some of this video because it's a camera taking video of a TV screen, but it's the best I could do to find what I was actually doing as a GM in EQOA. On top of resolving disputes between the community and making sure that everything was working properly and fixing the glitches that might be happening throughout the realm, I was also in charge of putting on events, making sure that people were finding some other entertainment outside of what was programmed into the game. So I would show up typically in the most populated areas, which was downtown Freeport, and hold games. I would tell people whoever could type the alphabet fastest would get a free scroll, or whoever could do something else differently than someone else would get a special item. I could change my outfit on the fly, I could change the size of my avatar, I could spawn NPCs, I could spawn enemies and give them as many hit points as I wanted to. I could create events where people would challenge me on a one-on-one duel or even a group versus me PvP, where I would make sure not to defeat them because that would remove all the luck they'd gained up to that point. But I'd always let them defeat me, even though I had infinite energy. I could just decide a point when, okay, congratulations. And probably my favorite thing I did as a GM was go to this island that only had alligators on it and turn myself into one of those alligators and pretend to be one of the enemies, so that when someone came along and was fighting them to gain XP, I would start talking to them as an alligator and completely freak them out. It was so much fun making that connection with the player, having like an out-of-body experience with the game where they feel like they're talking to a character that's actually part of this world and interacting with them. It's something that I feel like no other game was ever able to accomplish, presenting that kind of unique experience to the gamer. Other times I'd respond to reports where people would be complaining that there'd be characters that would be glitching in walls where they couldn't get hit by enemies, and they'd want me to go check out the situation to make sure that they were doing it on the up and up. And oftentimes I'd have to remove players from the area or put them in a jail we had for them where they couldn't get out. We'd put the characters in a holding cell for 24 hours and we'd have to remember to move them in 24 hours or else they'd be trapped there forever. There was no escape for players that were put in the EQOA jail. There were just so many amazing things that happened while I was a game master of EQOA. So many memories that I have, so many incredible people that I met while I was a GM. And people ask me, did you have to actually go to Sony to work as a GM or did you just log in at home? And I say, yeah, I had a cubicle, I had a PlayStation 2, I had a TV at my desk, and I would work on site at Sony Online Entertainment in San Diego as a game master. Now, technically you could go home and log in as a game master as well, but that would be off the clock. And we weren't really encouraged to be doing that kind of stuff. They wanted to make sure when we were working as a game master, we did it in-house on the clock. And although EQOA is clearly not running anymore today, it does hold a special place in my heart still because it created such an incredible community. The gamers that logged in daily were really the people that brought this game to life, more than any game I could ever remember on a console at that time. And while I did join the team of EQOA Game Masters towards the end of the run of the game, we still had an absolute blast with it, and it's something that can never be taken away from me. Anyways, that's my experience as a game master for EQOA. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys have any questions about it. I hope you enjoyed this story time, and I will catch you on the next one. Have a good one.